Welcome to Faith Talks Wood Podcast. I'm Will from Flywood Works.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.
And we're a podcast that talks about everything from Jesus to joinery and a little bit of everything in between. So, Tom, I have a fun game for you. Not a game, but a fun question for you. If you could hang out one day with any Bible character aside from Jesus or God or the Holy Spirit, let's just do some Bible characters. Who's the one Bible character that you want to spend a day with?
Ooh, that is a tough question. Can I give two answers?
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a fun thing to talk through.
From a hang out with him and just watch how his prayer life is, it would be Daniel. I love Daniel from the Old Testament, but to hang out with somebody who I think is like me and inspires me the most because he's like a total screw up and then had the greatest ministry in the New Testament, it'd be Peter.
Peter, okay.
Like I feel like me and Peter would just totally connect because like I screw up all the time, and like Peter denied Jesus 3 times, and then you go in Acts and he just had this amazing ministry. So It's like, I don't know. One of those two, depending on, and of course, you couldn't go wrong with hanging out with Noah, saying, "Man, what was it really like building that ark?" Or David, be like, "What was it like to slay the giant?" I mean, there's so many you could pick, but yeah, that would probably be my two, Daniel or Peter.
Okay. So I hadn't really thought much of this. I literally just thought of this question a couple minutes before we recorded, but one of mine would be Paul. And, for the obvious reasons of, he was transformed and he penned the basically the whole New Testament for lack of, he did all of it.
Yep.
I would want to hang out with him. Really curious. And this is just the nerd in me. I want to ask him what he was meaning in Romans 7. I do the things I don't want to do. The things I want to do, I don't do. Because there's a lot of scholarly debate on what he was talking about. A lot of people, I'm kind of in this camp. Okay, well, first, a lot of people think that he was talking about a sin or something that he struggled with. I don't read it that way. I read it as more of he was referring to the culture of the time that everybody says, well, I don't do the things I want to do, and things I want to do, I don't want to do. And then he rolls into Romans 8 that therefore now, there's no condemnation for those in Christ Jesus. I want to ask him, like, what did you mean in Romans 7? And he wouldn't know what Romans 7 means because there weren't verses and chapters back then. But, what did you mean about that section about, doing what you don't want to do, whatever. So that would definitely be one. And I think, I don't know, Old Testament wise, any of them. You said Daniel. I thought it'd be cool to hang out with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Oh, like literally, I could name 50 people.
Right.
Would be cool, but
those dudes didn't care about Nebuchadnezzar, and they just said, "All right, you're gonna throw us in a fire. Our God's gonna save us." And I thought they'd be cool dudes to hang out with. They'd have your back, kind of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different options. I'd love to hear some of the listeners on what you guys, who you guys would want to hang out with. Peter's a good one. Another
I
New
would
Testament
probably say
one.
Also Joshua.
Okay.
But like, brother, what was it like to take that step into the water?
Right.
It would be another one that I would. I'd probably say like in the Old Testament, it's like the story of Joshua and them crossing over into the Promised Land, and then in Daniel, I love the book of Daniel with stories about Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. All those. And man, I mean, there's so many. We could go on all night naming other people. You really could. But
the fun thing about, so we're going through the book of Daniel at church. Our pastors, expositorily teaching through Daniel, and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is obviously what we remember, but those are their Babylonian names, right? They were Hananiah, Mishael, and Oh, I can't remember the last one, but Nebuchadnezzar changed their names to reflect a Babylonian culture.
Yep.
He wanted to take anything that referred to them as being Hebrew out.
Yep.
And just so that's so cool. That's awesome stuff. But yeah, another one that I thought of, Thomas. So is it in John? I think Thomas. Yeah, it's in John. So Lazarus dies. They get word that Lazarus dies, and Jesus says, "Oh, we're gonna wait a couple days." And then they turn around and Jesus is like, "All right, it's time to go. We're going back." And the disciples are like, "They want to kill you there. Like, we don't need to go back there." And Thomas, I believe it's Thomas, is like, "Well, let's go die with Jesus." I was like, I've always thought, like, I wonder, yeah, he doubted and stuff, but I don't know. I kind of relate to him, I guess,
Yeah. And
So
two more that obviously it would be Job. Be like, bro, how did you just remain so tough and so faithful through everything you went through? Like,
right.
And then the other one would be like Jonah, be like, bro, what was it like being inside that fish, man?
Yep. Yep.
I mean, so we
Or
could go on and on.
or even the the John, right?
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot that says that he was the one that Jesus loved, right? There's that Onesimus, right? Where what's the book, Philemon, where Paul writes to Philemon about Onesimus, about not, hey, he ran from you, welcome him back with open arms. It's like, man, what was that guy like? Or even who's the one that was going to get crucified, but they decided to crucify Jesus instead.
What you mean? Wait. Not crucify. It was release them.
Right. Well, yeah.
Not Barnabas.
Barabbas.
Yeah.
To hang out with Barabbas, right? He was supposed to be the one that could put on trial there, and they took Jesus to, like, who is this guy that took my place, right? Anywho, so many. It's just kind of a fun conversation that I thought of. Like, I wonder who would we want to hang out with, but we'd love to hear you. Shoot us a message on Instagram. Shoot us an email on who you would want to hang out with from the Bible and why.
And your question was other than Jesus, because obviously that would be everybody's first choice. But
right, and that's just kind of the default, right?
Yeah,
sure, it would be love to. I feel like Jesus had a sense of humor. He had a camaraderie and a love for his disciples. You read John 17, where he's praying for his disciples and how he's how much he cares for them, and not, doesn't necessarily pray for the world at first, but prays that the disciples can reach the world. And I don't know, so much.
I will say one more would be James, because to be able to say, bro, what was it like growing up in the same house as a brother that was perfect, that never did anything wrong?
He'd probably be like, man, he was a punk.
They're like, man, I couldn't do no right.
Right.
He was perfect in mama's eyes. Oh man.
Well, it's funny though, because I'm sure that anybody that's got siblings always feels like there's one of the siblings is the perfect one. I know my wife. So my wife has two older brothers, and the oldest brother, they always say that he could do nothing wrong. And it is funny because her parents are phenomenal and they love all of them the same, but everybody always joked with that. And you always know people, right? That's like, there's the one kid that, like, whatever that kid does can never be wrong. But yeah, fun stuff. Well, before we get into it, just want to thank the patrons. You guys are amazing over there supporting us. And if you'd like to become a patron of this podcast, you can do so at patreon.com/faithtalkswood. There are several levels, and we just appreciate all you guys that are out there that support us. Pray for the podcast. Of course, this is a ministry to Tom and I, and we want to continue to see this ministry thrive and keep God first always. And then also give us a 5-star review over there on Apple. Just helps out a lot. A couple more things. One, Surf Prep Sanding. They're awesome. They've supported our giveaway that we're doing, and we really are thankful for them. If you use code FAITH at checkout, you'll get 10% off, and it helps out the podcast a little bit too. So without further ado, Tom, what's on your heart today?
Yeah, man. So I'm in the Old Testament right now, my personal reading. And man, just, I just love how every time you read through the word, it just feels like a whole new book to me. Yeah, there's things that I remember from the previous times I read it, but there's just always something that pops out and you've read it, but then God speaks to you in a different way. And so right now I'm in the book of Kings and reading about Solomon and everything, which was one of the younger sons of David that preceded him as king after he passed away. But today I want to read from 1 Kings chapter 3, and I'm going to read 5 through 14. And today I'm reading through the CSB version. I'm reading that version this year as I read. And so starting in verse 5, at Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream at night. God said, "Ask, what should I give you?" And Solomon replied, "You have shown me great faithful love to your servant, my father David, because he walked before you in faithfulness, righteousness, and integrity. You have continued this great and faithful love for him by giving him a son to sit on his throne as it is today. Lord my God, you have now made your servant king in my father's David's place. Yet I am just a youth with no experience in leadership. Your servant is among your people. You have chosen a people too numerous to be numbered or counted. So give your servant an obedient heart to judge your people and to discern between good and evil. For who is able to judge this great people of yours?" Now it pleased the Lord that Solomon had requested this. So God said to him, "Because you have requested this and did not ask for long life or riches for yourself or the death of your enemies, but you asked for discernment for yourself to understand justice, I will therefore do what you have asked. I will give you a wise and understanding heart, so that there has never been anyone like you before and never will be again. In addition, I will give you what you did not ask for, both riches and honor, so that no man in any kingdom will be your equal during your entire life. If you walk in my ways and keep my statutes and commandments, just as your father David did, I will give you a long life." I've read this passage many times in several other versions. This is the first time reading it in the CSB, but it just really popped out to me. And, it for anybody who's read through Kings and about the life of Solomon, he became the wisest on earth, even more wise than his father David. But what popped out to me was not about what he wanted and didn't want, but what he prayed for. And so often, I feel like we, as Christians, sometimes treat God, and I'm saying Christians, me as well, including this, kind of treat God like a vending machine where we're praying for what we want, what we desire, rather than, in this case, he was like, "Lord, I'm young. I'm just a youth. Give me wisdom to do your will, to guide your people. He didn't ask for riches. He didn't ask for a long life. He didn't ask to take down the evil coming up against him. All those things that we kind of typically would ask for, but he just asked for wisdom, like, God, guide me. And of course, we've talked a bit about this before. One of my favorite books is James. And in book of James, it says you can come to God and ask him for wisdom, and he will give it to you without rebuking. But the amazing thing is, so he prays for wisdom. He didn't pray for anything selfish. He's like, Lord, just guide me in what you want me to do, and guiding your people and judging your people. But then God in turn does what? He does give him the wisdom. Not only gives him wisdom, makes him the wisest man in all the land, but then he says, because you didn't ask for any of those selfish things, it doesn't say selfish here, but I'm interpreting that. But then it says, I'm going to give you riches. I'm going to give you a long life, and all these other things that he did not ask for. And so how can this be an example for us in our own prayer lives to kind of take a step back and not like treat God like a vending machine, like, just asking for what we want and what the desires of our heart is, but rather than say, hey, give me wisdom and show me what your will is. That's all I want. I'm going to be content and happy and satisfied with doing what you want, with you guide me. And then in turn, look what God does. He gives him a long life, gives him riches, and he ended up being the wisest man in all the land. So, yeah, it just really popped out to me this week in my reading, and it was on my heart. What do you think about this passage, Will?
Yeah, man, I love this. And like you, a lot of different Bible versions, and I've actually read it today in 1, 2, 3, 4 different Bible versions, because I was just trying to get the feel for it and stuff. And we've talked about this before with James about asking for wisdom, and that God will give it and give it abundantly. It's one of those things. It's almost like you have to be wise to ask for wisdom.
I thought that same thing. Yep.
Right. Solomon, it says here that he was young. I don't know how old he was, but he was probably still an adolescent, and he's asking for wisdom because he wants to do things right. Now, one of my favorite books of the Old Testament is a book written by Solomon, and that is Ecclesiastes.
Oh yeah.
And I would encourage everybody that listens. Sometimes the Old Testament can be dry. Sometimes it can feel, oh, this and thou, and this, don't do this. When you're in the Pentateuch, when you're in the first 5. I love the Old Testament, but Ecclesiastes is a well worth study. Go through it and mull it over. And one of the things that you find with Solomon in Ecclesiastes is he says in 1:12, I, the teacher, have been king over Israel, Jerusalem. I applied my mind to examine and explore through the wisdom all that is done under the heaven. God has given people this miserable task to keep them occupied. I have seen all things that are under the sun and have found everything to be futile, a pursuit in the wind. And that's what you find throughout Ecclesiastes. Solomon had everything, the wisest, the most richest, the most powerful king that there ever was. And his examination of it in the end of his life was, it's all worthless.
Yep.
None of it's worth anything. And the only thing that's worth anything is a relationship with God. And asking for wisdom is what ultimately led Solomon to have this life and to come to this conclusion. So even the most powerful and most influential, most wise person to ever live comes back around and says, I've had it all. mean, guys, I've had everything. From the women to the wealth to the, all the kingdoms, all the property, all the power. It's futile. It's in the wind. And I mean, it's something in this culture to just mull over, because there's a world that's telling you, you need stuff, you need to have status, you need to have this and that, and we all fall underneath that.
Oh yeah.
We all fall underneath these wants and these things that are futile, that just go with the wind, right? Don't build up what moths can destroy, right? And it's just something for us to really think about, and listen to the words of Solomon, and the words in James, and just the wisdom that can be had for asking for wisdom. And one of the things I try to do is, anytime I pray, I try to ask God for wisdom. Like, just give me wisdom. I if anything, need that. And so, yeah, man, this is good stuff. But again, I would encourage anybody to go read Ecclesiastes. Get you a nice study Bible. If you have a study Bible, read through it. It is just fascinating to see the guy who, what we just read, we're seeing the establishment of his wisdom and power right now, come down the road to say everything's worthless. It's not worth anything. Yeah, good
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah, man. You been doing any woodworking, man?
No, well, kind of, not really. So as everybody knows, as I've talked about for the last 6 months, we're gonna get ducks because I'm crazy. And so I'm building the Quack Shack, Quackingham Palace, whatever you want to call it. We've had a little bit of break in weather, and then it's strange. Pennsylvania is the weirdest place, man. Northwestern Pennsylvania. It was 51, 52 degrees out on my lunch day. I work from home, so on my hour lunch break, I ate lunch with the family, went outside, and I had to finish putting on rafters for the coop, and then finish with the hurricane, the rafter ties. And I was like, oh, I got a lot done. I felt really good. So I did make some sawdust, circular saw, jigsaw, that kind of stuff. But then as we're eating dinner tonight, it's a whiteout, and we got like a couple inches of snow. I'm like, are you kidding me? Now, from the looks of it, this is the end of it. Everything from here on out to after tomorrow will be 50 degrees plus. Like, it's just gonna keep going. But my goodness, I thought we were done, and then I look outside, we're getting ready to eat dinner. I'm like, are you kidding me? You couldn't even see the neighbor's house. It was like a whiteout. So yeah, haven't done much in the area of woodworking. I have done a couple Bible rebinds. I got those done. And yeah, not too much. How about you?
I actually have spent some time in the shop, and not because I had it planned to, but because our weather has just been absolute bonkers. Like, we had to fire the fireplace back up because we had weather where it got down below freezing. Up at Powderhorn, they got 11 inches of snow. We just got a dusting down here, but it's just been crazy. And then, of course, the funny thing is it got warm early, so all the peach trees, apricot trees, everything in the valley is absolutely beautiful. And then all of a sudden, we get this freezing weather, and they have these turbines that are kind of like a helicopter hooked to a propane tank, and the propane tank heats up the air, and then I should say this helicopter, because the helicopter runs parallel, airplane propeller on a pole is what it is, and it rotates and shoots the warm air out above the peach trees, keep the frost from settling on it. And dude, I woke up a few days ago, and it sounded like 20 Army helicopters were above my house, because we've got these things all around us. And that for a couple days in a row, it was like that every morning because we had this little cold spell come through. And then today's like 65. By the end of the week, we're supposed to be in the 80s. It's just been bonkers. And but I was planning on being out on the farm working, but then the wind has just been howling like crazy, crazy wind. And so I told my wife, I was like, I ain't even attempting to do that stuff outside. And so I got in the shop and got some stuff done, man. It felt good. I been cleaned my shop up, and then I've been planning on getting a new clamp rack up on the wall and some other tools up on the wall, and just got out there and spent some time, put my headphones on, listened to some podcasts, and made some sawdust. And I had pulled my domino out for one project. And I was thinking about it. I was like, I bet it's probably been a year since I used my domino. Like the last year, I just have not had the time to do that much work into it. In the last few days, I used my my miter saw, my table saw, my band saw, my scroll saw, my domino, my track saw, my sanders, and it's just kind of felt good to get out there and make some stuff, and trying to get all my work surfaces cleaned off. I had ready because I'm gonna start a few projects as soon as I get all my planting done. But yeah, so weather's supposed to be pretty the rest of the week, so I doubt I'll get any shop time until maybe next week because I'm going to Moab, Utah, Wednesday afternoon and doing a big job down there. So I'll be spending Wednesday night, Thursday night in Moab. And but then when I get back, the weather's supposed to be nice, so it's gonna be. And they're supposed to have our irrigation turned on sometime this week. So then it is all out for about a month. It's gonna be a lot of farming, but yeah. So
That's fun. I actually I do have a project I need to work on. So my son turns 5 at the end of May. And my wife gave me an idea to make him. So he's got these like they're monster trucks, or like Hot Wheels brand monster trucks, like Gravedigger and all the different ones. And he's got like 5 or 6 of them at this point. And she's like, hey, you should make him a shelf he could put in his room that he could put all of his monster trucks on. It have like indentations for the tires so they don't roll off. And so I might try to design up something. I've got a ton of MDF, and I thought it'd be a good project for some MDF. Prime it real good, and then paint it, and make some little shelf for him to put all his monster trucks on. Maybe even try to paint some monster trucks on it, or make it look like a monster truck thing with like ramps and stuff. I don't know.
oh yeah,
So yeah, I've got some ideas there, but yeah, so I do need to get out there at some point. I need to clean my shop. Honestly, it's just turned into a catch-all for stuff in the winter, and I gotta get out there and start getting some organization and cleaning going. And my big thing is if I can get my table saw and my assembly outfeed table cleaned off, then I can work with a clear head.
That's how I was the other day, dude. Like I've kind of have 3 different work surfaces. One that sits as my outfeed table, and another one this assembly table, and this other little portable table. I had stuff on all of them, but it was all farm related, where I like just come in, I sit it down, and it's stuff that I'm working on. And I was like, man, this is driving me crazy. That was the first thing I did, was just got everything cleaned up, put away where it was supposed to be. And then I was like, I really just need to get a few of these small projects done. So, but still fun to get out there and get something done, man. So
Absolutely. Yeah, it's starting to turn. And with me, one of the things I'm trying to do this year is to start a project and finish a project. So my wife bought this little whiteboard for the fridge, and what we've got on there is like projects around the property, things that we got to get done, spring cleaning type stuff. And like, every year I'll pressure wash the house and just clean out the dryer vent and just all that kind of stuff. And so I got the whole list on there, and I finished one of them the other day. Our SUV, when we bought it, I don't understand this. 2018, and it had stupid yellow old school lights on it, like headlights. And every vehicle I purchase that I have purchased in the last 10 years, I will upgrade to LED headlights. It's cheap now and it's easy to do. And so I upgraded when we bought this a couple of years ago, and one of them went out. I've never had that happen. My truck, I've had the same headlights in that truck for 5 or 6 years at this point. So anyways, that was on the list. So I got that done. Replaced the headlights in the car, in the SUV. And then I've got a whole list of stuff to do. One of them is to finish the duck coop. And that's kind of priority number one, because I'm trying to decide. Now you've done chickens a lot. You haven't done ducks, but it's basically the same concept. I'm going to order the ducks online, and we're taking a trip the second weekend in May. And we'd like to not have them here before that, because we don't want to have my mother-in-law or somebody have to worry about watching the chicks, while we're gone. So we'll probably order them to have them here the week we get back, kind of thing. And so is May too late for chicks? I don't know. I don't think it is.
Well, here's the thing. Like, the reason everybody gets their chicks in the springtime is because of Easter, because we have commercialized the holiday of Easter, and they get them for their kids as chick. I got news for everybody. Chickens lay eggs year round. You can have, but that is why you always hear. Now, the other, I guess, thing about that is, like, depending upon where you live, the severe cold.
Climate.
Yeah.
Right.
But mainly that's why every place, all the farm stores have chicks from February to right before Easter, because they know every mama they're going to buy them for their kids. Yep, that's why. So it has nothing to do with the fact that chickens don't lay eggs the rest of the year, because they do. So
right.
If they didn't, we'd all be in trouble, because the grocery store wouldn't have any chicken.
Yeah. So the cool thing is, my in-laws every other year get chickens, and this is their off year. And so they have like a big, it's like a water trough with a heat lamp and all the stuff for chicks. And so we're going to borrow that from them so we can have them in there. The only thing I got to make something to cover this with, because I have a cat that roams the garage, and he's a savage. And the last thing I want him doing is being able to get into the where the chicks are at. Yeah. And so I'm going to build some sort of screen cover that'll sit over. I can put a brick on it or something to keep them off of it. But so we're getting close. I've got to only thing left I have to do on the coop is put the roof on, which I've changed up how I'm going to do it. I was going to just put purlins on and just put the roof on, but I want to have some bit of insulation value, at least, like, if it's just a metal roof, it's going to get really, really, really cold and really, really hot. So I'm putting OSB down, then purlins, then the metal roof. So I got to get the OSB and the purlins for that. And then I've got to get the siding. I'm going to put T111 on it, just because the stuff lasts. I'll get the pre-prime stuff. And then, so I got to do that and get all the trim. But this thing is turning out to be the Duckingham Palace. It's, I bet you by the end of this project, just to get ducks, I bet you I'm going to have $3,000 into it.
What?
Probably, at least. Yeah, because I have to buy the fencing yet. It's going to be an electric fence, and that's good. That's going to be about $600, probably, with lumber. And once I do the siding, luckily the roofing was given to me. I mean, I'll have at least 1,200, maybe 1,500 in the coop. Yeah, it's just turning into
Man. The funny thing is, the first time we got chickens back in North Carolina, when my daughter was like a year and a half old, we bought one of those Jungle Gym suits, that
Yep.
they have at Sam's Club. And, it's
Right.
got the 2-story with the little climbing wall and the swing set. But then she outgrew that. And we still had it out there. I took that thing and converted it into a
Into a
chicken coop.
little coop.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was where our chickens stayed. And the funny thing is, we moved here. My neighbor that lives behind me has the exact same swing set and did the exact same thing. Converted.
That's funny.
But
But
yeah,
yeah,
man.
I mean, hey, you'd be proud of me though. I went the economic route. I was gonna put Trex down on the deck for this thing.
Bro. Uh-oh.
Well, here's the thing. So here's something you'll learn about me. When it comes to certain things, I'd rather buy once, cry once, build
Yeah.
once, and not have to worry about it. And so a lot of the things that I'm doing here, like I'll decide to maybe go a cheap route, and I'll say, well, I want to make it a little more beefier. I'm going to do this or do that. And so I'm just making it so that it's going to last. And yeah, I was like, oh, should I put just normal? I just put normal treated deck boards down for the porch of it. Yes, it's a duck deck. It has a a little porch on it and stuff. But with ducks, the important thing is you do not keep their food and water in the coop. That's a big no. You keep
Really?
it out on the porch because ducks are extremely messy. And if you keep it in the coop, that gets their coop. Every book I've read, all the videos I've watched, everybody's like, do not keep the food in the coop. And ducks are really, really hardy. And so they'll eat when it's open and then go in at night and you close them in there and they just stay in there and they don't have water or nothing in there. And so, but yeah, and I want to build a feeder. I watched a video guy on YouTube that built this really cool feeder. It won't be that expensive, but it's basically picture one of them like 33-gallon plastic trash bins.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get 4-inch PVC and you create like an elbow and then you cut the 4-inch holes, 4 of them on, two, opposite of each other in the bottom of this. And with ducks, you don't want them pulling because what ducks will do is they'll pull the feed out and they'll eat it like this and make a mess. People can't see, but they'll basically make a real big mess. And the way you design this is so that when they put their beak in there, they have to basically keep it in their mouth because they can't just shake it around. So there's a whole design element to it. It's not that expensive, just PVC pipe in the trash can. But then you can put whole bags of feed in there and then just keep refilling it instead of trying to fill a little thing and doing it every day kind of thing. And then the other thing I'm going to do, my brother-in-law got one and I might pick myself up one. It's like a 750-gallon IBC tote, food grade. And so he uses that to water his cow or his horses. But I'm going to put a gutter on the back of this coop and I'm going to have rainwater go into one of those. And it's got a spout at the bottom of it. I'll put it up on a pallet or two. And then that way we can use the rainwater to do the water for the ducks. So
Very
just
cool.
trying to think outside of the box. If I don't do one of those totes, I do have food grade blue, like it looks like a 55-gallon drum, but it's for liquid, whatever. I've got a few of those on the property that I can use. But yeah, just trying to keep it self-sustaining. It'll have a motion light on it, but it's a solar powered one, so that when stuff comes up to it, the light will kick on at night and hopefully scare it. It'll have an electric fence around the whole thing. It'll be like it's about like a 50 by almost 50 by 50, 40 by 40 area.
That's what it's costing. So that's big.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, man, it might be going a little overkill, but
well, as long as it makes the wife happy, that's all that matters.
well, my fear is that if we get this, and ducks aren't like cheap, they're going to be like $14 to $18 a piece for chicks. And so if I buy I'll probably start with like 6 of them the last thing I want is a stupid raccoon or something getting in there. And so I'm going to put electric fence in, and it's a full-fledged, it's like a temporary one that you can move around, because I want a proof of concept before I put poles in the ground and, whatever. But yeah, so I'd rather try to, the only thing I got is I got this big red-tailed hawk that lives on my property. So, but I don't know if I told you, one of the things you normally do is a lot of people do is they'll get geese with their ducks. So you get, goslings with your chicks, and you raise them up with the ducks, and then they're part of the pack. And then a lot of animals are afraid of geese. They won't come after geese, and the geese will protect the ducks.
Huh.
Well, I was going to get geese until I saw the price of geese. Like $75 a chick.
Oh no.
And I'm like, no, we don't. Yeah, I was going to get 2 of them.
Yeah.
I'm not spending $150 on 2 chicks that might die in shipping.
Yeah. My wife wants a donkey. And because donkeys do the same thing. They protect it. And I'm like, I do not want to take care of a donkey.
And they're loud, man. You ever heard?
Yes. Our neighbor has one street over. You can hear it all the time.
Yep. That's the same thing with roosters. I can't stand roosters.
Yeah, we got one rooster, but it does make a lot of noise. But I don't know. There's something therapeutic about a rooster crowing in the morning.
Well, yeah, there might be something to that. My neighbor, he's got chickens and geese and ducks and stuff across kind of like catty corner from us. And he has a radio out back, and he plays like country music.
Yeah, we do too.
Yeah, and so he'll have music going because it keeps the
critters,
the coyotes and stuff away.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's supposed to, even with the music playing. But our chickens, we let them free range, so they roam all over the place. Sometimes, as long as they stay in the range up kind of close to where the radio is, we don't have a problem. But we've still, even with the music going, lost them to fox.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy. But
all right, man. Well, it's getting late. Time to pack up and get ready for work in the morning. So
yeah, man.
Awesome. Well, till next week, I'm Will from Flatwood Works.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.